Welcome to the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast on the channel that's trying to answer the whys and hows of the game by talking through and dissecting game film and diving deeper to explain why the X's zig and the O's zag. I am Adam Marino, joined by Mr. Johnny Dell, and we are reminding you, as always, the most fun way to watch is on YouTube, where we go live. There you can comment into the live show. Be sure to hit the notification bell and turn on your notifications so you can be a part of the conversation. We also stream live on Facebook and X. Also, the audio versions are always found on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, if you are live with us in the chat, it's probably because you are subscribed, you've hit the notification bell, and turned those notifications on. So, when sharing with your friends, be sure to let them know. We also love to hear from you outside of our live show. Email us at johnnydellsfootballacademy@gmail.com, and you can always check out the website jfa49.com, as it is the most fun way to support the channel. Also, the way we boost the chat and boost the algorithm is to type out hashtag tastes like $53 million. Good morning, Bay Area, yay area. It is a Money Saturday. Reason number 472 why you should hit the notification bell for times like this. Johnny had a very busy week. He's a great family man, had some family stuff. And so we did not go earlier this week. So we're going today to talk. Well, we got 53 million things to talk about. And so we are here on a Saturday. I'm excited. I'm jazzed. I'm wearing my Brock Purdy shirt. Yes, you don't know technically it's Brock Purdy because it's Tecmo Bowl. It could be Joe Montana, could be Steve Young. But today it's definitely Brock Purdy. Johnny, how you feeling?
I feel fantastic. I will say the vibes this year are so much different than last year. We don't have contract drama that's taking over social media.
What's that feel like?
We don't have leaks about the 49ers and their contract guys that they're negotiating with getting into shouting matches and fireworks. This has been just a run-of-the-mill, no-brainer contract extension, and I am here for that. There was some drama that was tried to be started. There was some drama that
it's early.
That there was an attempt to start.
Drama.
I need more coffee this morning. With the George Kittle situation, if you remember, Diana Russini, she had reported that George Kittle was staying away from OTAs,
right?
For
and the next day he was there. The next day
for contract reasons, and he quote tweeted her and was like, "Check your source. This isn't true." And it turned out he showed up the next day and signed his contract. So it was, and he never shows up for the off-season program anyways. And so, that one was no drama. Brock Purdy, no drama. It's happened. And we should see Fred done here in the next couple weeks. His will be a no-brainer because, to reset the market again, to be the highest paid linebacker, he doesn't need much of a raise. There's only been one guy, Roquan Smith, who leapfrogged him, and it's just barely. It's by like $100,000. So it won't take much to make Fred the highest paid linebacker again, and they'll also free up some more cap room this year, and then be able to roll everything over as far as cap space that they have left over at the end of this year into 2026. So, yep, feeling really good about everything. I'm so glad it's done. I'm so glad we don't have the waiting and the worry, and everything's in there. Brock's signed. It's a done deal. He is the 49ers franchise quarterback for at least the next 3 years. So
our podcast is even has to take a shift, because since we've done this a couple years now, like there's always this offseason is always a talk about, well, will he sign, won't he, and what are they going to do? Oh, Brock Purdy unfollowed the 49ers on social media, or,
Yeah, which
whatever the
he doesn't
story
have
is.
he doesn't have a lot of social media presence anyways. So
But you know what I'm
yeah.
saying, you know.
Oh
Zach
man.
coming through,
Coming
man.
in with the huge super chat. Thank you so much, Zach. Appreciate you so much. Said, didn't I predict it would be a drama-free Purdy contract? Or am I being anachronistic? 8.5 million against the cap this year. That's for Purdy. No, you're not being anachronistic. And yeah, you had predicted that it was going to be a pretty drama free. I was worried that there was going to be a little drama from the 49ers side just because of how they went about the Brandon Ayuk situation and some of the things I was hearing about what was going on in preparation for Brock's contract. But it seemed like pretty much after the end of the year, they really did say, we're not going to jerk around with this. We are going to free up liquidity of cash payout this year so that we can get everything paid out for Brock and get the money in escrow. So something that is sometimes a little misunderstood is that when Jed York was kind of asking for a reset this year and in preparation from their spending for Brock Purdy's contract, it wasn't simply a matter of they're going to pay Brock a really big signing bonus and have to pay his base salary this year. The way that these contracts work, when you have guarantees in the contract, money that's guaranteed, it's required that you have that money as actually guaranteed. So that money has to go into an escrow account. And so even if he has, like, for example, the 2028 salary fully guaranteed, they have to put his 2028 salary in an escrow account. I'm not saying that's what it is, but it's an example because they don't want to have you're guaranteed this money. The date of the guarantee payout comes around, and an owner says, "Sorry, we don't have liquidity. We are not able to pay you." It doesn't work like that. So by the NFLPA, the money for a guarantee has to go into an escrow account. So when Brock Purdy has $181 million in guarantees, he may not receive all of that now, but Jed York has to pay that out in that moment. So, as just an example, that is nearly what the entire salary cap was in 2020 that he is paying out. So, when they were looking to reduce the cash expenditures this year, it was to then finance the escrow that they were going to have to deposit for Brock Purdy's contract. Now, the thing that will be most interesting to watch over this contract and when the details come out is what the first 3-year cash payout is, because that's the thing that matters most. It looks like it's either going to be second or first as far as first 3-year cash payouts. So when Josh Allen signed his contract extension, the cash payout was $166 million over the first 3 years. That is the highest. I will say I think it was second highest, only to Dak Prescott's. That was just insane. It was not that, like, Dak Prescott took the Cowboys to the cleaners on that contract. The league has looked at it and they pretty much acted like that contract hasn't existed. And they're continuing off of the other contracts because that is such an outlier. And when that happens, that's always a good like waterline to say the league does not look positively on how the Cowboys went about that contract, because when Josh Allen didn't get more money than Dak Prescott, you went, okay, everybody looked at what happened with that and said, no, the Cowboys screwed that up. So the first 3-year cash payout would kind of put Dak Prescott aside. Josh Allen, $166 million. Right now, all we know is that Brock's first 3-year guarantees, the guarantees in his first 3 years, is $165.05 million. That means if there are no more cash payouts during that time, whether it be a little bit of base salary or something, that it would be $950,000 less than Josh Allen, which would sit about right. You would say, okay, Josh Allen is a premier. He's probably 1 or 2 in the league as far as quarterbacks. obviously Patrick Mahomes, I think we can easily say is number one. So Josh Allen really slotting in there number two. That would put Brock Purdy at number three in the league as far as quarterbacks, according to first 3-year cash payouts. The APY, I don't get caught up in. You guys have heard me talk about this. I'm not caught up in APY. That usually comes down to a player wanting a statement that I am slotted at this point in the league. And APY is something that assuages an ego, but doesn't have a lot of bearing in reality because you can always change the numbers. They can backload and put like $120 million base salary on the last year of the contract that player will never receive just to boost the APY. There's a couple guys that have things like that boost their APY. It really comes down to what shows their value is first 3-year cash payments. And the 49ers are all in with Brock Purdy. They have recognize that he is their franchise quarterback, and they have paid him with cash accordingly.
And it's very exciting just to know that there's value placed on him for the whole league to see, and for us to know that it is not even June and it is completely done. That is huge for us. You talked about the lack of negative storylines now, and that is so huge. We do also have, which I want to ask you, Johnny, do you want to get into this on Monday or do you want to get into it now? Because I wanted to bring up the schedule. We have not gone over the schedule release, but I'm okay with waiting till Monday. I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you what you would like to do.
Adam always he's the king of, I don't want you to actually think fully through a plan. I want you to shoot from the hip, so I'm going to drop
what I'll
this
say.
on. Like, no. You are the king of that, because we'll bring a guest on, and at the very end, you'll be like, "Hey, I'm going to ask you to put you on the spot in front of everybody. Are you coming back on?" And they're like,
well, they have to say yes then. No. But here's what I want to say is, because since we're going on a Saturday, and I do see a lot of the usual suspects. Thank you guys for hanging out with us on a Saturday. But I didn't know if you want to take advantage of a regular Monday slot where most people are used to having us to talk through. There's a lot to talk through with the schedule release. So I just didn't know. I'm okay with either, and I can understand either way, but I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, so we are going on a Saturday because, like Adam had said, my life got extremely busy here this last week. Had some things come up Monday, and then Friday, my daughter had her pre-K graduation, so that was at 10 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock Pacific Time, and we normally go at 7:30 Pacific Time, so I just wasn't going to be able to swing that. And Monday, I will probably be having to leave again out of town to drive like 5 hours that day, 6 hours that day, and we'll have to leave early in the morning. So Monday isn't going to work out. We can talk a little bit about the schedule, but I don't want to get off the Brock Purdy thing here, because this is the biggest news of the offseason for the 49ers. And it's the biggest news that really we've had in there. And there's been so much discussion about Brock Purdy the last year, 2 years of, is he worth it? And we always would say, whether or not we believe that he's worth it, the 49ers were going to do this, and that he was going to get paid market value. People kept wanting to put out there that he was worth 45 a year. And it was always crazy to say 45 a year. Always. Like, that was never even on the table. It just didn't make sense at 45 a year. And people say you can't pay Brock Purdy $50 million a year. Yes, you can, because his cap hit this year is $8.5 million. They're probably going to get to the end of this season and roll over $30 or $35 million or more into 2026. And they're going to end up in 2026 with like $70 million in cap space, or even 50. They're going to have 2 rookie classes that they believe a lot in, and you're going to then start recharging for, now we can go after a big free agent that will help push us over the top, sort of a thing. Or, we'll see how, we don't even know how 2025 is going to go. Anything can happen, especially when you do look at the schedule. You say the 49ers have a very, very favorable schedule. If they get off to a hot start and can weather through October, you are looking at this team being set up really well to get hot at the end and make a big run and be well into the double digits as far as wins. So they it makes a ton of sense. Colin from the UK is asking, and this actually does work really well. So the 8.5 million cap hit makes no sense to me. We have cap room. Why not front load the cap hit now? We've seen a shift over the last 7 years in how teams are structuring these contracts because the league started to do rollover years. And then what that was is when you have surplus cap from 1 year, you roll it over into the next year, and that counts towards your salary cap. Players were all in favor of that because that meant the teams had a lot more cash and owners couldn't just sit here and stash cash. So because there's also minimum payout requirements as far as cash spending. It's not they don't have to pay out per year, but over a 5-year cycle of the CBA, they have to spend 90% of the available cap in cash payouts. If you follow me with that. The reason you do a lower cap hit now, even though you can afford a higher one now, instead of front loading, you really don't see a lot of front loading anymore. We saw that with the Jimmy G contract, right? The 49ers kind of learned with that one that when you front load like that, it doesn't really help you out a whole lot. And so you started to see some of these restructures happening, and you go, well, why would they restructure a guy's contract this year and not next year? Like Eric Armstead would be a perfect example. The reason you want that lower cap hit you always want that lower cap hit at the front end now is because it prorates that bonus out and then you roll the year over. So it gives you one less year or one more year of proration, lowering the each year's overall hit, if that makes sense. I know that's kind of a word salad. Did you follow me, Adam? I want to make sure that the chat's following me. Okay. Yeah. So if for example, you have $20 million in base salary on a 5-year contract. That's and you convert all 20 million. You can't do that, but as an example, all 20 million into signing bonus. Now that equals out $4 million a year. Okay. So if you have a guy that's got 20 million this year, and then you've got, almost no base salary the next year, what you do then is if you take that 20 million, you convert it to base salary, you get 16 million that rolls over into the next year. And that year, that $4 million proration is on there. So that's cost you $4 million, but you rolled over 16. So now you've created $12 million on that next year. Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So
it is a lot. It's a lot.
Right. and so the longer, like if you go another year, that base salary, it just makes more sense for guys that you're going to keep and you're going to have on the roster for the next several years. It just makes sense because you don't gain anything by using up that cap space this year, and like shifting it from 2026 to 2025. You really don't gain anything because you will always be able to shift 2025 on to 2026. And so like it gives you more flexibility as far as year to year, and you always keep that one down, and you can always shift things down. And what we've seen like this year, the option is always on the table of that we can eat it all in one big chunk of dead money, because the biggest problem is it creates dead money. But if you believe in your quarterback, you keep extending them every 3 years, and then you push a whole bunch of that dead money down. And what happens is you keep doing that. This is what the Eagles have done with Jalen Hurts. It's what the Chiefs are doing with Patrick Mahomes. It's what the Bills have done with Josh Allen. It's what the Lions will do with Jared Goff. Probably next year, either they're going to have an inflection point with Jared Goff. They're either going to have to restructure his contract or eat all the dead money and move on from him. So they're going to have a choice next year. But as long as you believe in that quarterback, you'll keep pushing that down until they're not on your roster. Even if you don't believe it, like you get to a point where you say, we got to move on from this guy. The Broncos are a perfect example. They did that, ate the highest amount of dead cap for any player ever in the history of the league, and we're in the playoffs that year. So, so that's what it is. Like even though you're racking up some more dead money because of the rollover and the way the math works, it just makes more sense to keep that first year, or really year 0, cap hit as low as possible. So you spread out and prorate that money out. And plus, it also keeps your cash payout this year a little bit lower.
So based on these numbers and what the 49ers have done, you would say this was a great fit for what they're trying to accomplish then, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is totally like the win-win-win. You get the contract done early, so there's no drama. You end up getting Brock gets a ton of cash. I mean, Brock's average pay for the next 3 years, um, in money, really, like if you average this contract out to 2030, his pay every single week for the next 6 years on average is more than he made his rookie year when he took the 49ers to the NFC Championship game. I mean, that is wild. Like every week, not just during the season,
Right.
all year round. Every week he's making more than on average than he made his entire rookie year. I love that for Brock. So that is a huge win for him. It's a win for the 49ers. You have your franchise quarterback locked up. You know you have some cap certainties now. And you can budget around this and you can go from there. So yeah, and I think and I'd actually talked about this off air with Rob Guerrera after we did a show on Thursday. He was like, "Oh, I'm seeing the 49ers just sold 6% of their
Yeah.
team." So,
Yeah. What do you think of that?
there's that.
I saw that. I saw
Well,
that.
and I saw that and I said to him, I said, "Well, I'm assuming that means Brock's probably going to sign a contract tomorrow." And it happened the next night. And he kind of went, "Oh yeah," because I said, they've got to get the liquidity to put huge amounts of guarantees into escrow. So that's probably is a move that's signaling that Brock's about to sign a contract. And then there it was. It turned around, and the next day, Brock signs his contract.
Yeah, and Dr. J said wonders the same thing. Wonder if that fresh cash came from the 6% sell that was required to make that pretty deal. And
Yeah, I mean, it
yeah,
was.
yeah. And
I mean, it's
everything
why.
lined up. They were in talks doing it, I'm sure, for a month. I'm sure they've been talking through that. You don't just make a snap decision on that much money. But hey, we love it. We're excited because again, we have our guy locked up who already has accomplished so much. And one thing that a lot of people have said on the national shows, the Dan Patrick's, the Colin Cowherds that I enjoy listening to just to see what their outside take is. And a lot of people over and over say you are a little bit or a lot of bit since it's so much money paying for his accomplishments because you were paying him cheeseburgers. That's what you were paying him. And John Deere commercials. That's what you were paying him. Like he wasn't getting any money. So for all those things that he did, he's the all-time leader in passing for the 49ers franchise for a single season. And he did it in 16 games, really.
Yeah, and we have to remember some of the things that Brock did this last year. Like, this is just insane that he makes this throw from this pocket. When we talk about Brock Purdy and his ability to make plays, I mean,
Yeah.
the guy was paid what he was for a reason.
Was this the
That
Monday Night Football?
this is against the Lions at the end of the year. I mean, that is as
Yeah.
muddy a pocket as you can get. He's got a backup left tackle
Yeah, we're so
that's getting
bad at this
that is
point.
getting driven into his lap. He's got Colton McKivitz being driven into his lap. He navigates that up, steps up in a
Steps
pocket, and
up.
he made this throw while jumping. And you cannot make that throw any better. I mean, this is who Brock Purdy has been from the moment that he has stepped into the starting role for the 49ers. He brings an escapability to that. It's not even about the big chunk
Jeez.
plays like that.
Dead to
Look,
rights. He's
this is
down
the
dead to
Lions.
rights.
Well, this is the Lions. They've they beat the 49ers here. So they start out with a linebacker over the weak side A gap. So that means Garendo's got to scan. He's got to pick up and scan out. So they're going to get big, and you're going to get a big on big, and then you're going to have to go big, big. So you got to account for everybody this way. So they just come, they slant across and bring this through here. This is a dog blitz, and they drop out a couple bigs here, And so you end up with two guys not blocking anybody, and you've overloaded the other side, and you get a free runner. I mean, they're only bringing 4 up here, and then on a scrape blitz. So their guy on the edge doesn't have to go, and he just sees it, gets out of there. I mean, takes off, avoids the sack, and then gets the ball out to Garendo for a gain. That if Garendo stays in bounds, it's almost a first down. And so, it's not going to be one that when you see the stat sheet or the after the game and you look through the play by play, it's not like this crazy big play, but you avoided a sack and you kept the ball going, moving down the field. And a sack like 90% of the time, a sack on a drive equals a punt or a turnover of some kind. You don't score usually on a drive with a sack. And then, he does so many of the little things well. You're going to see his head manipulation here. Understand that Ricky Pearsall is the only route to this side of the field. And the Lions were playing cover 4. So they got 2 deep and 1 underneath. And he's going to keep this head stripe down the middle of the field that holds this hook player inside. Meant to do it in white. This hook player inside so that it's going to give Ricky room on this out. So you're going to see him hold it. And again, when he's in his windup, where's his head stripe? This way.
Yeah.
The defender's playing with vision technique, so he's not bailing to go try and cover Ricky on the out. The ball is going to get thrown way outside. That head stripe is there. That is premier discipline, head discipline, eye discipline from a quarterback to hold his head where it needs to be. I mean, it's almost the no-look pass, right? And that's why you have all this space out here for Ricky. There was only 2 defenders and only 1 receiver. That's Brock Purdy manipulating the defense. Again, it's another play that's not going to show up big time on the stat sheet where you're going to say, okay, Brock's making these big, long, big air yards throws, but it's just high level quarterback play. You're going to see him here. He starts his windup. Ricky Pearsall is here. Okay. Understand how far that Ricky's going to travel. Brock's going to end up putting this ball on the far side of the logo. Ricky is covered. This is a guy who doesn't have to wait for guys to get uncovered to make the throw. He's going to put this ball out here. And then, everybody talks about Yak. Watch the accuracy that Ricky Pearsall does not break stride. Okay, from the line, this is where the ball has been released. Ricky's out here. He doesn't break stride all the way over to here. That's an
NFL. That's an NFL throw.
And that's why I like showing this sometimes and pausing it. Like, okay, there's the wind up. Here's where his receiver is. Here's where his receiver catches it, because we don't appreciate a lot of times the speed of the NFL game. Guys who played quarterback in high school, they'll be like, oh yeah, anybody can make that throw. Yeah, when you were in high school, you threw from here to a receiver that was going to be here. Like, this is accuracy, ball placement, understanding where the voids are. And this is why Ricky gets huge run after the catch, because he never breaks stride. This is why Brock Purdy just got paid. Just was made the highest paid 49er ever. Zach coming in with another.
Yeah.
A certain 49ers content creator said the 49ers negotiated against themselves. Talk about beclowning oneself.
Oh, yeah. We love to hate. It is funny. What else do you say?
I'm gonna have to leave that one there.
Yeah. We all know it's comical, and we love to.
The 49ers weren't negotiating against themselves. They
did just fine.
Brock's market value was always going to be well into the 50 mil. And when you look at the first 3-year cash payouts, it's $55 million a year. That makes sense. That's what the market says. Again, the Cowboys overpaid for Dak Prescott by probably 10%. And so, that's on them. The market says that Brock Purdy's contract should be 55 a year. And when you look at the years of the extension, it's 55 a year. When you add up everything now, it's 53. But APY, and again, it doesn't make that much of a big deal. If Brock really wanted to, he could have held out to say, I've got to be number 2 in APY. And all that would have meant was that the 49ers would have added, $30 million onto the end of the contract and said, okay, there you go. Now you get 58 APY and you're effectually number 1 in real market value. But, they could have done that, but he wasn't going to be hung up on it. It wasn't about APY. It wasn't about necessarily where he's going to be slotted. The first 3-year cash payouts is what matters, and the guarantees. I mean, that's what the 49ers gave him in a plum. $181 million in guarantees. That's a lot of guaranteed cash. And then first 3-year cash payouts, minimum 165. So it just makes sense.
So I'm pulling up something that I was looking at from the schedule release, and I wanted to ask you about the season here because I don't know how this happened, and I'm wondering if it's a shrug your shoulder or if you have an actual answer. I'm okay with either, by the way, but I do want to ask. So the 49ers, this year in the season coming, the record of teams that they play is 120 and 169, which is a .415 winning percentage, which is the best, well, or worst, however you want to call it. They have literally, technically, scientifically the easiest schedule in the National Football League. Better than the Saints, better than the Patriots, the Titans. How I get it that we play the last of the divisions, like I get all that, but still, how does that happen?
It's because of just how it worked out. I mean, it wasn't like that the 49ers said, okay, now we're gonna, we're purposely gonna be,
Right.
or the league even says, we're gonna make the 49ers give them the best strength of schedule. And you can see them all the way down here at 0.415 opponent winning percentage. I mean, well, look, when you end up being last in your division, you're going to play the last place opponent in every other division you're going to play last place from 2 other divisions. So there's that you're gonna reap the benefits of. And for some reason, my computer's just my windows are being a little weird here. Also you play the AFC South. The AFC South has been not a good division. I mean, the Texans are really good from that division, but you have the Jaguars, who just ended up firing their head coach and hiring a new one. You have the Titans, who just had the number 1 overall pick in the league. So when you play the number 1 overall pick team, that is the worst team in the league. That also then helps you out. And you have the Panthers, which have been just terrible for years. So you play the AFC South. That just worked out that way. And then you play the NFC South, which was not a good division last year. They weren't. I mean, they were. They haven't been for a couple of years. They have been a poor division, and they're also a division that has had coach turnover. So, that's what it is. You end up with
crazy.
The Falcons have a new coach. The Saints have a new coach. So you just
look at the New York Giants though. But look at our friend Adriana, who was on the show before. She has got to be beside herself because the Giants are terrible. So you would think they'd be at least middle of the pack. No, they're at the top. Yikes. And I get that's the division. They have the Eagles twice. They have the Commanders twice. So I get that. The Cowboys are always tough on them as well. And you have to play them twice. So I get that. But to be at the top of that list, oh my gosh, I feel bad for her. Like, that's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a rough division, and excuse me, I did misspeak. I said the Panthers in the
The
AFC South.
Colts. It's the
It's the
Colts,
Colts,
which
and the Colts are
it's
terrible.
Monday night, and I'm going to that game. It's Monday Night Football. Dude, I know you don't work Mondays. I want to sign a petition to get you to come to Monday Night Football in Indiana, brother. I'm going to do it.
We'll see. We'll
I'm going to
see.
get with your wife. I'm going to make it happen.
Look, if we I don't think we're gonna play in Tennessee. It looks like it's gonna be
No,
a home
no.
game. So, that would
Cleveland
be the
and
one that would make
Indianapolis.
the most sense. Like,
Yeah,
Tennessee would have been great. If it was in
I know.
Nashville, that's only 3.5 hours away from me. I could have totally made that.
And to hang out with T.I. and make fun of him all day would have been great.
Yeah. 49ers throwback coming in with a super chat. He said,
Yep.
we are winning week 1. And I'm not that far from New Orleans, so that's true. I think it's like 5 hours for me to New Orleans, so maybe.
The Big Easy. The Big Easy.
Maybe.
Sundays are just tough, I know, for you.
Yeah, it's just real tough for me because I can only miss so many Sundays, and I'd rather take those with my family to have off. So I'd prefer that to be what I do.
That's why I'm saying Monday, Johnny.
I know.
And it's a long ways away. We can plan it. It's Christmas time,
Yeah, I mean, look, the 49ers have an opportunity to really come out the gate. They're the question of beginning of the division games in September. We lost to the Cardinals last year, lost to the Seahawks last year. Division games. If you start out 4-0, the Saints, you can beat up on them. They don't have a quarterback. They just don't. It's going to be Tyler Slug, and rookie, new head coach. I'm not sold on that. That should be a win. Now it's on the road, but if you're going to be on have a road game, that's when you want to have it. Jacksonville, look, it's Jacksonville. They're a mess. Liam Cohen's trying to come in there. They don't know what they're doing. You should be able to win that. If you win those 2 division games and you start out 4-0, you are able to weather through October. October is going to be tough. I mean, you got 3 playoff teams in October. You got the Falcons, who again should be, but they were tough against everybody last year. They should
be improved though too.
They played the Chiefs last year as well as anybody. I mean, really took them to task. And, they still have Kirk Cousins under contract. So, they should be improved. They've got a new head coach. So, I mean, you have 3 playoff teams and then a team that has been ascending. So, October is going to be rough. And the 49ers have historically not been good in October. I mean, we have struggled in October several of the last years, even, 2023 when we went to the Super Bowl. October was rough. We did not do well. We started out 6-0, and then at the end of October, we went on a 3-game losing streak.
Yeah.
So,
which dare I go back? Do I dare to go back to Cleveland this season? We know what happened when I went.
I'm not getting into that. But I mean, when just over the years, October has been really rough for the 49ers, especially Kyle Shanahan. So, you weather through October though. If you even end up 2-2, you're 6-2 coming out of that. And then you're going to play over the back stretch, the Giants, the Panthers, the Browns, the Titans, the Colts, and the Bears. I mean,
man, the Bears, we've lost to the Bears over the last decade, some games that we should not have, and they will be a lot better. I wonder about that game, honestly. But
yeah, I mean,
yes,
look, I get it. Ben
win.
Johnson's going to be there, but the Bears are still very devoid. Like, their defense is just devoid of talent. It just is. Yeah. And so, I look at the back half of that schedule and I go, there should be 6 surefire wins. So if you end up coming out of October 6-2, you are looking at minimum 12-5.
Yeah.
At the end of the season. So that's what, like, you are setting up really well. And that is if you lose to the Rams, if you lose to the Cardinals, and if you lose to the Seahawks. And I don't think they're going to lose all 3 of those. Yeah, so you're looking at 13, 14 wins. I mean, this schedule really works out for the 49ers. And for the first time in years, the 49ers have a positive rest differential. We have been like minus in the 30s for a number of years, and we are +9 in rest differential, meaning we get more days of rest than every other team. And last year, you could see it was just they were coming off that long season. Everybody says, how come the Chiefs can weather this? Well, the Chiefs almost every year, and especially even last year, had a positive rest differential. The 49ers were -35. They were beat up. They had the shorter offseason. They had the contract issues, and then it was just injuries, and they didn't have time to get to rest guys, get healthy from injury because they were turning around and playing teams that were coming off a rest. We played like 5 teams last year that were coming off of a bye, and we have 0 teams this year that are coming off of a bye. So when you look at all of this, the way it's shaking out, the 49ers have, I feel so much more positive about where they can go from here into next season than I did really after last season. Last season, you're thinking, okay, they're going to run it back. They got some hurdles to overcome, but within the we were sitting there with the Ayuk situation, and what is this going to work out? And then all of a sudden, training camp hit, and Trent Williams, you find out, is holding out for a new contract, and that's frustrating. He's gone all camp. He gets into the building, and then is starting out slow, and we're watching it on film and going, Trent doesn't look like Trent's been, and he's saying, man, that was the hardest thing I've ever gone through my life, missing training camp and not getting those reps. And he's trying to get in, and Ayuk's trying to get in and get back into football shape, and he's not there, and he's not producing the first number of weeks. And then you're having the injuries pile up, and Christian McCaffrey isn't there, and you never have a moment to catch your breath, to get your feet underneath you. And it just felt like that all season long, that they never were able to catch their breath, get their feet underneath them, and be 100%. They were never 100% at any point last year, and it kind of cascaded on them. And at the end of the season, the levee broke, and that's when everything really started to fall apart. This season, you were set up so much better for that. There are no excuses this year. Like, there's none. And you can be an injured team, but you are playing some of the worst teams in the league. So that's the way it's got to be.
Yeah, we were catching teams like after their bye, like every week it seemed like, and it just was like, where's our break? What? And now this year it happens, and so yeah, super excited when this came out. The way everything fell. Again, I will be attending that Monday Night Football game. I'm looking into a couple others. I'll keep everyone posted because I know some of you guys like to go to some of the away games as well. But yeah, this is super, super exciting with the schedule release. Remember to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Again, this is one of the main reasons why we say to do it, is because situations arise where we go pop off at random times, especially after huge story breaks that
I mean, come on, we've been waiting for this moment.
Yeah, we knew
since the new, or the end of the season, like the day after the Super Bowl. We've been waiting for this because was the day that the 49ers could start negotiating with Brock Purdy. And so it's happened. We don't know the full details of Brock's contract yet. I'm closely watching Mr. Jason Hurley, 49ers Cap. If you don't follow him on X, follow him on X. He's got some sources inside the NFLPA, and as soon as the NFLPA gets the full numbers, which isn't going to be until Brock actually officially puts his name on the dotted line and we get the picture of him signing it, that's when the details will be sent to the NFLPA. There may be somebody who gets leaked the details and they share it. But I know for certain, the moment Brock signs his name on the dotted line, they're going to fax that over to the NFLPA, and the NFLPA is going to post it, and Jason will totally get us the inside scoop on the exact details. I'm assuming this is what I'm assuming with an 8.5 mil cap figure this year, is that there's a pretty hefty signing bonus, probably in the neighborhood of $40 to $50 million on a signing bonus. They're going to fully guarantee his salary next year. They're going to fully guarantee his salary in 2027. And then there's going to be a bunch of per game roster bonuses in 2026. The reason you do that, you do the per game roster bonuses, but they're going to be fully guaranteed, is that it increases your guaranteed monies. And then it treats 2026 almost like a signing bonus year. Because when those per game roster bonuses kick in, even though they're fully guaranteed, they don't actually start counting on your prorated cap until they until each game passes and he gets paid the roster bonus. But because it's a bonus, it prorates over the life of the cap. So that's why they do that. It's basically to add to another year of signing bonus without having to put a signing bonus, and it spreads it out. So that's what I'm assuming is going to be the structure, is something like that, with a pretty decent guaranteed 2027 base salary and guaranteed 2025 base or 2026 base salary that won't prorate over the life of the contract, and then the 2025 per game roster bonuses along with 2025 salary and signing bonus. All of it, all the different details and what they have. There's going to be a workout bonus that's put in there. There's going to be probably an option bonus in 2026, I'm assuming, is what's going to be there. So we'll see how it all goes.
Yeah, and this channel will break things down because we go over the whys and hows of the game, and that means also the whys and hows of contracts and team structure and all that. It's fun to get into that. So if you are a fan looking for those types of things, that is why we want you to be a part of the conversation and to hit the like, subscribe, take your phone and show it to Niner fans and say, hey, there's this really cool channel that goes over things, the X's and O's, Johnny's videos, the website. Thank you to those who support that. We can do this and get together and hang out with you guys on a Saturday, sometimes mostly Monday and Friday. But big shout out to all you guys. Thanks for keeping the chat live today. It was super fun. As Johnny mentioned, some housekeeping things. We probably will not be able to go on Monday, so we will shoot for Friday. But again, you got to have your notification bell updated so that you know when things are
Yeah.
going.
And I wish YouTube had an easier way to notify everybody. Like, I was trying to do it on my phone Friday to notify everybody that I couldn't from the YouTube side, but it's a little more difficult. You have to you have to go through the community. It has to be a photo that's uploaded, and it doesn't allow to do it from the app. And it was a whole thing. I try and post updates on that on X. So yeah.
And your lovely wife chimes in and says, "I'd say he is pretty knowledgeable." Yes, on lots of things. We won't get into it because then I won't get him to shut up. So as we close out the show, I won't talk about tanks because then we'll go another 45 minutes.
Stop. Oh,
So
stop.
so I will say a couple other things. If you want to get into more of the schedule release as a broad view, be sure to check out couple days ago episode from Sports Idiot Nation. We dive into that on Thursday's episode, and the NBA draft lottery. Pretty crazy that a team with less than 2% chance to get the number one overall pick, the Dallas Mavericks, where Klay Thompson is playing, they got the number one pick. So some craziness there. We get into that. So remember to follow Sports Idiot Nation. Johnny has been on a couple episodes. Super fun. Don, what's so funny?
Yeah.
um, so that'll do it for us today. In the meantime and in between time, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, go Niners.